There are no signs that Sunday's referendum in Crimea will be called off. Western leaders continue to threaten Russia with sanctions if the vote goes ahead. But Moscow doesn't seem too worried, as the Kremlin amassed more troops on the border with Ukraine. Mike Armstrong joins us once again from the Ukrainian capital with the latest. Mike?
Well, Robin, we haven't heard very much from Vladimir Putin since the whole Crimea situation started. Well, he did address it today, although in a bit of a roundabout way. Putin was at an event for the Paralympic Games and thanked organizers for not letting what he called problematic events get in the way. He insisted Russia was not the instigator. Putin never mentioned Crimea by name, referring only to the difficult circumstances that everyone is aware of. Later in the day, Putin did mention Crimea by name. Speaking at a Russian Security Council meeting held in Sochi, he called the situation primarily an internal crisis for Ukraine. It has emerged, he says, I want to point out, not through any fault of ours. Now, meantime, Russian military exercises are being conducted in regions along the border with Ukraine. These are images from a Russian broadcaster, operations that will apparently last until the end of the month. The situation brought strong condemnation from Western leaders again today. The German chancellor warning Putin that if Crimea is annexed by Russia, the act would be seen as a threat to its neighbors. Russia would face massive damage, she says, politically and economically. In the U.S., the Secretary of State today said there is already a list of Russian officials who would face travel bans and have their assets frozen if the vote goes ahead.
There is no justification, no legality to this referendum that is taking place.
Now, assets are an issue in Crimea as well, where there are lineups at banks. People are afraid the bank will collapse, this woman says, and no one wants to lose their money. There are still roadblocks in the region, self-defense units looking for weapons, and people who are against separation. The Ukrainian parliament today voted to create a new National Guard, hoping to mobilize as many as 60,000 civilians. Outside in the camps that fill the streets around Maidan Square, there is support for the new government, but there isn't much confidence in it.
Unfortunately, we haven't got, strong leader right now who could control the situation in Ukraine.
The country's new prime minister is still in the U.S. He spoke to the United Nations this afternoon. He called on Russia to pull its forces out of Crimea and engage in talks. At one point, he switched to Russian, addressing the ambassador directly, saying the Russian people don't want war, and he hopes their government listens to them. Yatsenyuk told the UN his country gave up its nuclear weapons in the 90s in a treaty with the UK, the US, and Russia in exchange for security. Security it doesn't seem to have at this point. In the future, he says it's going to be hard for other countries to give up their nuclear weapons. Robin?
Mike Armstrong in Kyiv. Thanks, Mike.